Good afternoon or good morning, everyone. Welcome to Training Bites, a digestible approach to Counterpoint training. Today we're going to talk about menu codes. If you have any questions during the presentation, there's a Q&A window at the top of your Teams toolbar. If you don't see a Q&A window, use the chat. Put your questions in Q&A or chat. Stick around for the Q&A session at the end. My name is Gina Thomas. I'm the training manager at C&K Systems. A lot of you already know me. And this afternoon I'm joined by Marty Katz. A lot of you know him too. He's a project lead here at C&K Systems.
Hello.
Welcome, Marty. Marty's going to stick around and help me answer questions. Okay,
I'll try.
so I appreciate that. So you may have noticed that too many associates have full access to all Counterpoint activities. I know sometimes when I dial into a site, I'm often amazed that everyone on staff is a system administrator, which you really shouldn't let everyone have free reign in Counterpoint. Some of the button labels just don't make sense. For example, when you see tickets, well, we know it means make a sale, but to somebody new, what does that mean? So you can actually rename buttons to something that makes sense. And then, of course, there's reporting. You run daily, weekly, monthly reports. Some are probably in sales analysis by group. Some are probably in merchandise analysis. Other ones are in other modules like point of sale. So rather than running all over the software to find all these reports, wouldn't it be nice if they could just be grouped into one button or under one folder? Oh, I mean, for that to happen, my mouse likes to be funny today. Not funny, haha. Or if you're the type of person that spends a lot of time in Excel or Word or on the internet, you spend a lot of time doing your work inside a Counterpoint, then minimizing it and launching other applications. So that is why we are talking about menu codes today. With menu codes, you can limit or expand permissions for a group of people. You can rename buttons and create custom buttons, like grouping together activities or reports under one button. And you can make a button in Counterpoint to link to programs outside of Counterpoint, like Excel, like Word, PowerPoint, or even the internet. My mouse just keeps wanting to get away from me today. So basically, a menu code represents one or more people. Typically, it's a group of people. Menu codes are tied to system security codes. These are global settings in Counterpoint, like who can see cost, who can save reports, who can customize lookups. Those are security codes. And then that security code is then tied to one or more user records. So when you go to set up system menu codes and you do a lookup, now in my lookup, I only have 4 groupings of people: back office manager, POS, and sysadmin. You may have more, you may have less. Under security codes, which is set up system security codes, again, these are global settings referring to activities outside of point of sale. And what you do is you take the menu code and attach it to this security code. Now you'll notice my security code, my menu code match in naming conventions, and that's by design. That way I know that anyone that has a menu code of sysadmin is attached to a system security code of sysadmin, and ultimately if they ring sales, a point of sale security called sysadmin. So if you go to set up system users, where you attach the security code is the bottom half of the user record. And then if you look over to the right up here, this over here is a point of sale security code. I'll talk more about that in a minute. And again, you can have more than one user linked to a security code. When you actually go into a menu code, one of your groupings, and you open it up, you'll get a split screen. On the right is a default menu. This is what came with the Counterpoint install. It cannot be modified. Nothing can but be deleted. It's just not customizable. Now on the left, you'll see a custom menu for the group that you just opened, and that is their menu that was customized for their group. And you can see in this example, the custom menu has a few more buttons than the default menu because I added a folder called Counterpoint Help, another one called White Papers, and another one called CK Apps. Those are all custom folders. Within the menu code, you can design. So under Custom Menu, you could add or remove items. You could rename buttons. You could create dedicated buttons for dedicated activity like reporting. And you can create buttons to link to an external application. And we're going to look at all of that right now. So I'm just going to minimize this and let's go into the software. So you can see in my favorites, menu codes are tied to security codes. Security codes are tied to users. And then if that group, that menu code and security code, if they happen to ring sales, then you'll also need a point of sale security code. So system security codes, global settings outside of point of sale security codes, things that you do inside a point of sale, price overrides, voids, void afters, ship tos, returns. So let's just start with the menu code. So I'm going to go to Setup, System, Menu Codes, and I'm just going to go into my lookup. And you can see I have 4 groupings of people. I have a sysadmin. Anyone that belongs to that group can do anything. I have a buyer, which has a little more power than maybe a manager, but not as much as a sysadmin. I have a manager group, which has more power than POS. And the only thing my POS group can do is ring sales. So now I'm going to show you a compare and contrast to these groups. I'm going to start with sysadmin. I'm just going to click on the menu editor. So you can see my default menu here, and then you can see the custom menu for any one that belongs to the sysadmin group. And it basically mimics the default menu, except I've added some custom buttons in here that we'll look at later. Matter of fact, I'm going to get rid of that one. That's how you delete a button. You just find the folder, right click on it and delete it. Or you can use the delete on your keyboard. Okay, let's compare that to my buyer menu code. So I'm going to save that and wait for this to save. And then we'll look at buyer, maybe, if Counterpoint ever gets done saving. Here we go. I had confidence. So let's look at my buyer. I'm going to go to Menu Editor. Now you can see my buyer's custom menu is much different than the default menu. Basically, my buyers can go into inventory and do any of these inventory activities, or they can go into purchasing and do any of these purchasing activities, or they can go into sales history and see views, reports, and utilities. But if I were to say to any member of this group, let's get rid of that. Let's delete that. That wasn't there before. So you can see basically they can get into inventory, they can get into purchasing, they can run some reports. If I were to say to a member of this group, go ring a sale, they can't because there is no point of sale button on their launchpad at all or anywhere that they can see in Counterpoint. So this is what I like about menu codes, and I consider it the strongest layer of security. If you can't see it, like in this example, a buyer cannot see point of sale, then you can't do it. In this example, a buyer cannot ring a sale because there's no point of sale button. Let's compare that to our manager. So here's our manager menu. And you can see the manager has a little bit more than the buyer does, not as much as the default. So the manager can get into point of sale, the manager can get into customers, a little bit of sales history reporting. They can clock in and clock out, change passwords, and set up new users. Now, if I were to say to somebody in this group, go into purchasing and create a purchase request, they're going to come back and say, what are you talking about? There's no such thing called a purchase request in Counterpoint when I sign in, and that would be correct. Now let's go look at point of sale. So really small custom menu. If you belong to this group, you can ring a sale. You can look at a couple of reports, just one, and you can change a password and see the message center. Now, if I decided that I didn't want this group to have access to my point of sale views, all I have to do is highlight this folder and right click and click on delete, or click on delete down here, or click on delete on my keyboard. But maybe I do like them to have the views. I just don't like some things within the views. So if I open up views, maybe they don't need to see quotes. So within a folder, I can actually remove items that they just don't need to see. Pretty straightforward. If I want to add something to this menu, maybe I'm going to let my point of sale people do some receiving when it's slow out on the floor. So to this custom menu, I can go to the default menu and I can bring over the purchasing folder. Now this is all in the wrist action. I'm just put that back so you can see. I just put my mouse on top of the folder, hold down the left click and just drag. And see how it's got a circle with a slash? So I can't just drag it anywhere. I have to come up here to custom menu and then let go of my left click. Now remember, I just want them to do receiving. So I can open up the purchasing module and I can take away purchase requests because they're not doing that. They don't need to see purchase orders. They don't need to do adjustments or quick receiving or returns to vendors or reviews. Maybe I could let them have some reports. They don't need these history reports or journal reports, and they don't need these utilities. So now anyone that's part of my point of sale group can now do receiving. Keep in mind, if you do delete something from a menu, from a custom menu, it doesn't go into deep space, never to be seen again. So for example, I'll get rid of this receivings folder. All right, it's no longer here, and I'll get rid of the purchasing folder too. Goodbye. It's always going to be here in the default menu. Here's my purchasing folder. Here's my receiving folder. I'm just going to go ahead and take the receiving folder. Again, hold down the left click, come up here to custom menu and drop it. If you need to change the position of a folder, all you need to do is highlight it, hold down your control key and up arrow or down arrow, or you could right click and you can see here your shortcuts, control up, control down. Now remember, a menu code is tied to a security code. So if I come in here into security codes and I go into my lookup, you'll see the same groups of people. And this is again by design. I keep the naming conventions identical. So we had a menu code for buyer, one for manager, one for POS, one for sysadmin. We also have system security codes for each one of those groups. I'll call it my sysadmin. You can see here it's tied to the sysadmin menu code. And everything is authorized for this user because they're a sysadmin. Now, if I pull up a POS person or a POS group, you can see the menu code is POS, but this group has very little permissions to do anything in the software itself, outside of point of sale. Now you take the security code and you attach it to a user. So both of these live under setup system. Matter of fact, all three of these do. Setup, system, there's menu codes. Here's system security codes. Under setup system, here's users. So I'll just find myself as a user. And you can see here, I'm tied to the security code sysadmin. Here's my security code lookup. Here's sysadmin. When I edit it, I'm looking at my security codes, but you can see it's tied to the menu code sysadmin. And then I mentioned earlier during the slide presentation, if this group is going to ring sales, they also need a corresponding point of sale security code, which lives in a different place. It's under setup, point of sale security codes. And again, if I go in the lookup, I'm going to see the same groups of people, except my buyers, because my buyers don't ring sales. They don't need a point of sale security code. You can see, as a sysadmin, I can do anything I want in point of sale. Void, price override, holds, recall holds, do quotes, everything is checked. Whereas if I compare that to a point of sale security code, you can see a lot fewer things are checked for anyone that belongs to this group. Like I can tell right now, they can't do price overrides. So let's say you have somebody that comes in and works your freight for you. They're never in Counterpoint. They don't need to ring a sale or do receiving. All they're doing is physically working your freight. But they do need to clock in and clock out. But you don't want to give them your login to sign in. They really need their own. And maybe they just need their own menu code where the only capability is to clock in and clock out. So we can do that. So I'm going to start with menu codes, then I'm going to make a security code and show you how to tie it to a user. Since this particular group will not be ringing sales, they will not need a point of sale security code. So I'm going to go to setup and system and menu codes, and I'm just going to call this time clock. It's just going to represent my group of people that use a time clock. And I'm just going to copy from another menu code, just so I don't have to build anything from scratch. So I'll just copy from POS because it's the slimmest menu. It doesn't have that much in it. Then I have to give it a description, time clock, maybe associates. Now I'm going to go into menu editor, and I'm just going to get rid of everything. Delete, 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 delete. I'm just using my keyboard. I'm going to come over here to time cards. I'm going to drop it in the custom menu, and then I'm going to look inside this folder. And when I look inside this folder, I can see clock in, clock out. That's great. But there's also a place to edit time cards. Well, we don't need that, so we're going to delete it. There's no reason for anyone in this group to run a report, so I'm going to delete it. There's no reason for anyone in this group to export or purge time cards, so I'm just going to delete it. Next, I'm going to make a corresponding system security code. Because remember, I can't just attach the menu code to a user record. It has to be attached to a system security code, and then the system security code's attached to a user. So I'm going to go to security codes, and I'm just going to make one called time clock. Again, I'm just going to copy from another one. I'll just copy from POS since they have the least amount of permissions. I'm going to come down here to menu code and select the time clock menu code. And then I'm going to clear everything except the ability to use time cards. So they're allowed to clock, anyone that belongs to this group is allowed to clock in and clock out. I like to show the time card status when they're clocking in or clocking out so they can currently see if Counterpoint thinks if they're in or out. And then optionally, you can prompt for people to clock in when they log into Counterpoint or they log into point of sale. And that's what these two do. Okay, and then when you're done, you'll save. And then we need to attach this system security code to a user. So I'm going to go to users, make my friend Sally here is going to be a user. And I'll assign her to a work group. And all I need to do is come out down here to security code, pick the time clock security code, and set a password for Sally, or require a password change and let Sally set it herself, which is really the preferred method. And then when I'm done, I can save. Okay, and this is just what drawers is Sally going to use. She's not going to use any of them, so I'm going to get rid of that because she is just using the time clock feature. But what if we have a different scenario? You know, we have a manager and we have sales associates, but we're going to hire a couple of assistant managers to give our managers a break. So I'll need a menu code for assistant managers, a system security code, a point of sale security code, and then I'll be all set to set up my users with the new assistant manager role. So I'm going to go to set up system menu codes. I'm going to call it assistant manager. And I'm just going to copy from another one. I'm going to copy from the manager. Give it a name. Then I can go into the menu editor and, I can look in here and say, well, my assistant managers really don't need to get into Excel, so I can go ahead and delete it. And I really don't need my assistant managers in the setup or point of sale configuration, so I'll delete it. But they might need to change a password. They might need to look at some time cards, make some time card corrections. And they can run these reports. So it's that simple. Just build, give your new menu code a name, copy it from an existing one, then strip out what you don't want or add what you do want back in. So I'm just going to go ahead and click on close. So now I need a corresponding system security code, which is just down a little bit here on the same row. Again, I'm just going to call it assistant manager. I'm just going to copy from my existing manager security code. Then I'm going to check, the assistant manager should be able to do everything a manager does, which is pretty much everything, including clocking in and clocking out. So now I can save. Oh, let me give that a name. And now I'm ready to attach the system security code to a user. But remember, this new group is also going to ring sales. So I need a point of sale security code. That's under setup, point of sale security codes. Again, just give it a name, press my enter key. I'm going to copy from the manager, give it a description. And my assistant manager can do just as much as my managers. So these are all pretty much checked. Okay, and then save. Now I'm ready to attach to users. So setup, system, users. We just gave Sally a promotion. She's no longer working freight. She's going to be an assistant manager. So I'm just going to find Sally in here. I'm going to say that she's a sales rep, so she's allowed to ring sales. And then down here, I'm going to change her security code to assistant manager. I'm going to make her a point of sale user, which means she can ring sales. I'm going to make her a point of sale manager, which means she can do voids and price overrides. And then I'm going to attach the assistant manager point of sale security code to the security code field on the user record, and then save. And then, of course, since she's going to be ringing, might as well give her some drawer permissions. I went to user drawers. I'm just enabling everything to be able to use. Okay. So now Sally's all set with her new promotion. Then I talked about linking and renaming buttons, linking buttons to outside programs, renaming buttons. So I'm going to go back into menu codes. I'm going to find my sysadmin menu code. I'm going to go to menu editor. So if I go to point of sale, here's what I named. Let me name that back. This used to be called touchscreen. That's what the default is, touchscreen. Okay. Again, if I'm new to your company and I go to point of sale, I'll just see ticket entry and touchscreen and, you know, might not know what that means. So you can actually rename a button. So if you just highlight a button you want to rename, in this example, I want to rename touchscreen. You have a menu caption and a button caption over here. So just go ahead and change it to like make a sale, which is a little more intuitive, right? Now understand that this change is only being made to system administrators. So only people that belong to that group will see this change. If you want to change the touchscreen button to make a sale for all your people, you have to visit each and every menu code to make that change. So I'm going to close out of here and show you what that looks like. I'll save one of these days. There we go. So now when anyone that belongs to the sysadmin group, and you can see my group up here, sysadmin, when they go to point of sale and tickets, they're going to see make a sale. I could even rename this button to start here to ring a sale. Now, the only thing I can't do with these buttons, and I get this question a lot, is change the font size of the letters and the color of the letters. They're white and they're that font, and that's just the way it's written. Okay, so let's go back to set up system menu codes. And I'll show you how to link an external program. It's super easy. So I'll come into menu editor. And you can see I already set up a button to go to the internet right here. So if I go back to my main menu, you can see I've got a button down here called Internet. And then I can click on Edge, and it takes me right to the internet, right from Counterpoint, which is pretty nice. The other menu code I set up was for Office 365. So when I click on Office 365, I have Word. It launches right here from Counterpoint. And I have Excel, which again launches directly from Counterpoint. So how did I do that? Set up system menu codes, menu editor. So all I need to do is click on custom menu. And then down here at the bottom, I clicked on new. And I want to make a new folder. We're just going to put a button on the launch pad. Now I can name that new folder, because right now it's just called new folder, which doesn't make sense. So we'll just call it Internet 2. Now, right now my folder is empty. So I need something to link up to the internet. So with this folder highlighted, I'm going to click on new menu item. I'll call it Edge. I'll call it Edge 2 or Edge 3. And see how it has an X? So it doesn't know where to go. So you actually have to come here to the command line and browse to that executable. So I'm just going to cheat a little bit here so you can see mine here. And when I click on this ellipsis, I had to browse to, it was C drive, program files, 8.6, Edge, application, and then here's the executable. You can also search up here if you can't find it. Okay. So that's how you link a button to the internet. Now I want to link a button to some of my Office Suite products. So you can see currently I've got a button for Word and Excel. You saw that earlier, but this is how I created it. Again, I start here at custom menu. I go to new folder. I give the folder a name. I'll just call it Office 2. And again, my folder's empty, so I need some type of something under it to link a button to. So now that I'm highlighted on my new folder, I'm going to go to new menu item. This is where I can say I'm going to link this to Word. Again, I get the X. I'll go back to options. I want to be highlighted on Office 2. Menu item. I'll call this Excel 2. And there it is. Then once I had these here, then I had to browse to where the executable is. So again, I'll just cheat a little bit here. So for Word, I had to go to C, Program Files, Microsoft Office, Root, Office 16. And then once you're in Office 16, you might have a different path because you might have a different version of Word. But for me, it's Office 16. So here's my executable for Excel. And then my executable for Word is called WinWord, by the way. And then I can just link those to those buttons. And what's nice about that, again, you know, you're doing some work in Counterpoint and you need to go to Excel to do something. You don't have to leave Counterpoint. So now when I'm done working in Counterpoint and I'm ready to go work in Excel or Word or PDF or out in the internet, as soon as it saves, then I can go right here to my Launchpad. There's my internet. I can go home. Here's Office 365. So pretty straightforward. If you need help, you know, always just feel free to log a support ticket. Don't try and guess or pull your hair out. Log a support ticket will help you out. Okay, let's go back to the PowerPoint presentation. So hopefully in this session today, you learned a few things like adding or removing access to Counterpoint activities. Remember, if they can't see it, they can't do it. How to customize, you know, some of your buttons by renaming them or removing them or adding custom buttons. You know what I didn't do? I did not show you how to build a custom button for reports, and that's important. So good thing Marty's paying attention to what I'm doing, right?
Right.
Gina, aren't you going to show us how to do a custom button for reports? So I'm going to go back into menu codes. I'm going to find my sysadmin, menu editor. And again, I'm going to start here at custom menu. And I want a new folder. And just call it, let's say, monthly reports. Okay, so now I have an empty folder. You know, every month I get some reports from point of sale. Like I really like the drawer history report. So I'm just going to come here into history. I'm going to find drawer history and I'm just going to drag it right over this folder. Now see, I can't just drop it here because I got the circle with the slash. If I come up here, there it is. So I'd like to run that report. I also like to run some merchandise analysis reports. So I'll open up inventory and reports and I'll find my merchandise analysis report. Here it is. Again, left click, drag right over this folder. There it is. And I also like sales analysis by group. So I'll open up sales analysis and reports. Oh, I like flash sales. So let's get flash sales. There it is. And let's get our sales analysis by group. And now that we're done, this is now going to be a custom button on my Launchpad called Monthly Reports. I'll just save that. Okay, now if you look at my Launchpad, I've got a new button down here called Monthly Reports, and here they all are. So I don't have to hunt and peck under point of sale or under inventory or under sales history. It's all right here in one place. Okay, so hopefully you learned something about customizing your menus, adding, removing buttons, renaming buttons, and creating custom buttons, and also how to link a button in Counterpoint to an external program that is outside of Counterpoint, which is always pretty handy to do. Okay, I always appreciate your feedback, topic suggestions. By Friday, you will get a link to the recording. By the way, that same link will take you to every single recording I've ever done for the past 4 years. In that email, you'll also have a survey, just like a happy face, sad face type thing. You can remain anonymous if you like. I do appreciate you filling out the surveys and making topic suggestions. If you want to fill out the survey today, just go to our website, www.cksystem.com/training bites survey. March the 5th, our next session. Marty's going to be hosting our next session on March the 5th. We're going to talk about Secure Pay. Most of you use Secure Pay. So Marty's going to show you how to access the Secure Pay portal, how to review transactions, settle or void transactions. He's going to show you what's available in Secure Pay for reporting, which isn't much, and also talk about something called Store and Forward, which is a feature that will allow you to accept credit cards when your internet goes down. So you all know when your internet goes down, there is no credit card processing. So make sure you sign up for March the 5th and you can learn a little bit about not only Secure Pay, but Store and Forward. And if you want customized training tailored to your business, your data, give me a call, main number extension 3, email training@cksystem.com, and we'll schedule an appointment and do the training on your data. Okay, Marty, do we have anything in the Q&A?
Okay, I'll unmute myself. Sheila had
Please
a couple
do.
questions. And I'm afraid I'm not familiar with one of them. So I'm going to start with the one I am familiar with.
Okay.
So let's talk about Spanish. So yes, you can modify your fields and button labels to be in Spanish. You can also, so if you have just one item, like just my sales clerk and they only need 3 or 4 buttons that need to be in Spanish, you can do that. That is totally doable. You can even change all the fields in Counterpoint. Go ahead and throw open your Counterpoint if you would, Gina.
Sure.
And go to the item screen. Since I did that earlier. So see there it says item number. Now I don't know what you would say, how you would say item number in Spanish because I am not bilingual. I'm barely monolingual. So, but you can actually change that to say item numbre, or I'm sorry, I don't even want to go
That's
there.
pretty funny, Marty.
I don't even want to go there because it's going to be embarrassing to me.
And
So,
actually, when they get the links to the training videos, there's a couple sections on the data dictionary in there.
Right.
And that's where you were going, I take it.
That is, yes, you could change this in the data dictionary. So it's definitely different than this class, but yes, you could do that. Now, and also I can tell you that I know that this has been written to make all these things in Spanish, but I don't have a price on it, but it would be an enhancement. So if you wanted, if you have a real heavy Spanish speaking employee group, and they really need to have, all these fields in Spanish, we could do that for you. We would have to purchase it for you and get you a price on it. So that's and I don't even have a price range on that, but it's doable, and I think that's the main thing.
Now, do you happen to know if that could be group specific, like only my sales associates and managers speak Spanish, but my buyers don't?
It would be system wide. Now your menu codes, so let's close out of, or move this over here where it says item labels. Okay, you could have that in Spanish. And then when you look at your item number, it would be in English. This would be system wide. Item number would be system wide. These labels, these button labels can be done based on, what do we say? Menu codes.
Yes, very good.
Okay.
You got that right, Marty.
Woohoo! Another 20 years. Okay. Okay, about the Spanish issue. I don't understand. Use face in for clock in. Is
I think it's
face in?
facial recognition.
Is that facial recognition? Because I don't think we have facial recognition.
We do not.
We used to have fingerprint, and I don't think they support that anymore. Correct, facial recognition. No, people would have to sign in and give them a login, but yes, then you could do productivity reports on sales reps.
You know, I don't have a Q&A window this time in Teams. Do you, Marty?
I'm sorry, what's that?
Do you have a Q&A window in your Teams today?
I don't have anybody in Q&A.
Oh, I just found it. I have it.
Okay. Yeah.
I thought I was missing my Q&A button.
Yeah, you use it, but it could be connected Counterpoint. No. Yeah, facial recognition would be great. Lots of things would be great. Hi. Anybody else have any questions? Sheila tried to play Stump the Tack. Yes, it would be great to have that. I am sure it would be. All righty. Anybody else?
Hey, Marty, I think we're good. I don't have anything else. Do you?
Okay.
Okay. Hey, everyone. Thank you so much for your time today. And we'll see you in March.